Hi, so my name is Marcy Fiorentino, and I am the parent of three wonderful boys. And this is an article that I wrote for our newsletter at work a couple of months ago about all of the times that as a parent we lose our patience and just feel like our kids always want to argue with us and battle with us. So I hope it will bring you a little bit of motivation at those times. So here goes. It's titled How Many Times? How many times a day does your son or daughter invite you into a battle? How many times a day do we need to stop and decide if the battle for power and control that they're inviting us to is really worth it? How many times a day do we say to ourselves, I can't be patient for another second? How many times do we lose our patience and say something to our child that we really wish we didn't say? How many times? Parenting is the single most challenging job that I have ever been faced with in my lifetime. Funny, when we're so excited about having our first baby, it's hard to imagine all of the challenges and the difficulties that we're going to face. The older my sons get, the more I wish that I would have been able to focus on every battle and every challenge as an onlooker rather than from the eyes of their mother who was operating with emotions. As a mom, I have felt so much responsibility and pressure to raise my kids to become successful that at times I did not step back to look at the big picture. I would dig in my heels about an action or a consequence, or I'd even tell them no to something that they wanted to do, when in fact that small battle led to oftentimes a much larger battle. And if I could have been a little more flexible, I think a lot of those larger battles would have been not necessary. When my oldest son came home from the orphanage, he spent his first year in an orphanage, and when we adopted him and he came home from the orphanage, my father was so intrigued with him that my father was treating him almost like a research project. You see, Vince would be sitting in his high chair, and Vincent would knock his toy off accidentally, and he would not cry for us to pick up that toy. Because he'd spent a year in an orphanage, he had no expectation of impatience that someone was going to give him that toy back right away. And of course, we know my father didn't mean this, but he did say in jest one day, goodness knows all of my grandchildren should have spent a year in an orphanage. As a parent, when they drop those toys off that high chair, or when they have a need that needs to be met and they cry, we condition them that when they cry, they're going to have that need met right away. And we're going to do what we can to meet that need. Then, when they become a little older, we stop doing that because we want to set limitations and set boundaries, which we need to do. But so many times it becomes a battle as we set those boundaries as they grow older. So being a responsive parent to your child, to your infant, is much different than allowing your older child to have what they want without any battles. So everything we do to meet our children's needs from a very young age molds them in small ways that we're not even aware of. So certainly the questions asked above, how many times can be answered in 5 words, as many times as it takes. Enjoy the parenting as they grow up way too fast.